what you do, and it end up backfiring, they're gonna resent you.
100%. Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
the thing. We can never know what someone's best solution is because we're not in the living their life. Like we may from the outside know what's best for them, but really like people taking like their autonomy, taking like their, solutions is the best way to kind of guide through life, right? Because if you're doing what I'm telling you to do, you're just back in that rat race of like capitalism and doing what everyone else is doing because I'm telling you to do it, right? You're not doing it for your reasons, which Socratic questioning gets you to.
Beautiful. Wow, that's so interesting. Dr. Cindy, I would like to ask you a little bit about EMDR. And so, first of all, for our listeners, what is EMDR? And one of the things that I saw in your profile is like you know the truth about EMDR. So,
Yeah. Oh
enlighten
my gosh.
us.
Yeah, so EMDR, I love it. It's called eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And so EMDR is not talk therapy, and it's so interesting because I took the training and got certified because I was actually looking to debunk it. I was like, what is this thing called EMDR? There's no way it actually works. This is not legit. And so I took it being very critical of it. And that's what I think everyone in life should do is if you don't know and it sounds too good to be true, investigate. Like do your research to kind of figure it out because then you get to learn something. So I took EMDR thinking that hey, this is not a thing. Might be a placebo effect. Placebo effect is this idea of like what we think is true is true. I didn't really know what I was getting into, and so I took EMDR training. And part of the learning process is that you do practicum, and in practicum meaning that you kind of like do what you're learning. And so I was actually a client of someone else learning EMDR, and the first session it like completely changed like my life. Like it changed something that I didn't even really know that I had under the surface, something that I really like thought that I worked through. And in that one session like, it was a very small, like this idea of like us all practicing it out. It really did change my thinking. And I was like, how is this even possible? So then I obviously did more research and EMDR, moving your eyes, and this thing called bilateral stimulation, which is like left, right. Whether it's like audio or whether it's like feelings or whether it's eye movement, it does stimulate kind of our brain and this idea of our neural pathways and our long-term memory and our emotional reaction to things. And that's kind of where I said earlier around like emotions being this like, chemical reaction. Because when that happens, our logical brain turns off. And so we have two brains. We have a left hemisphere, which is our logical brain, and the right hemisphere, which is our kind of emotional brain. And EMDR has found this amazing hack to literally use your body to help you heal from trauma or to heal from big emotions. And so with human beings, and you were kind of saying it earlier, like, evolution wise, we kind of have this ability to kind of keep us safe. And so when we get triggered or when we think that we're not safe, our body does things to kind of keep us safe. So our brain shuts off this like ability to do math. It shuts off this ability to kind of like have these like big discussions about the questions about life. What our brain does when we're scared is it gets us to survive. And so with what happens in trauma, and a lot of the time with any kind of big emotions, is that we regress to like survival. And so what EMDR does is it kind of like diminishes the power that the amygdala or even this right hemisphere has over our life, and it lets us desensitize big feelings. Once we desensitize those big feelings or kind of put them on pause, our logic brain pops back on. And when our logic brain pops back on, we could really evaluate situations in our life that we felt hurt and that we kind of created core beliefs about. Just as an example, if you were ever told that you weren't good enough when you were a child, that memory might still stick. And then now as an adult, you're like, well, wait a minute. Like I was actually a great kid. I was totally good enough. But that one memory, that one person, that one time telling you created this neural pathway that then over time, subconsciously, maybe you built on it. You built on all the times that you felt that you weren't good enough. Maybe you didn't get an A. Maybe you got a B. And maybe that was your evidence that, hey, I'm actually not good enough. I only got a B. Or the next time you weren't chosen, first for a basketball team. And then you're like, well, wait a minute, I am actually not good enough. I wasn't chosen first. And so you're adding all this evidence to this neural pathway that was created when you were a little person being told that you weren't good enough or that you whatever. And so EMDR kind of like goes back on that neural pathway, helps you explore it without having the emotion brain attached to it, where you're actually able to like get rid of that belief based on neuroscience and based on neural pathways. So it takes this whole talk therapy out of the equation because you're actually the client is kind of watching this like light bar or having these like handheld tappers or listening to audio, and they're doing all this thinking in their mind while their eyes or the bilateral stimulation is activating the brain. So it's super cool. that's kind of a long story to the answer, but the truth is it works, and the truth is it's quite remarkable how the human body is made to heal. I often say, when you get a cut, your body does all it can to heal that cut. When we get sick, our body does all it can to give us, what we need to fight that virus. When, something like trauma happens, we forget we actually have tools that our body has already to help us heal from that. And then adding on to that, right? Like looking at what's around us, looking at the ocean, even like the sound of the ocean is actually therapeutic. Going out to like grounding, walking on grass, that's therapeutic. They actually even suggesting, hugging a tree causes our body to feel at ease. And so we have all these cool things around us that we forget because we're always told pharmaceutical, you need a medication, you need a pill, you need this, you need that. But there's a lot out there. And so, bring you back to EMDR, eye movement does help heal trauma and does help manage big emotions. And I'm a living proof of it, and I can definitely not speak highly about it. But with that being said, is that person has to be ready for it. You have to kind of, want to kind of explore that. And people have a lot of fears, and I could definitely spend an hour talking about all the myths about EMDR. It won't re-traumatize you. You won't leave feeling worse. Sometimes healing is uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean that you're getting worse. And so keep that in mind if you are exploring this journey of health and wellness and how to get there, is that sometimes it's uncomfortable before it gets better, but this idea of it's always there. You've survived the worst days of your life, and now it's kind of like, how do we then get you to the best days of your life?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, there's always sunshine after the rain. Or how
Yeah,
like the gym bros say, no pain, no gain.
right?
Yeah, but that honestly sounds like a superpower. I think the problem is like as you mentioned, when you get a cut, your body kind of heals automatically. You don't need to think about it. We do have the two EMDR, but it's something that you need to want it and you need to know how to do it. So it's not that automatically how someone would heal from a
Actually,
cut, right?
well, I will jump in with that. So EMDR, and I forgot this, so thank you for mentioning this. EMDR is that left, right, left, right. And if you think about our natural sleep cycle, REM sleep, rapid eye movement, is the same thing as EMDR. So when you're sleeping and when you're actually in REM sleep, you are able to process your emotions and you're able to heal in your sleep. And this is kind of bringing it back a little bit to people who have trauma, often kind of don't sleep very well, and they kind of have these like sleepless nights, or they're not getting the full night's sleep. REM sleep is very similar to EMDR. And even thinking back to everyone who maybe has had a really rough night where they felt really sad or depressed, or just, felt really overwhelming the evening, they always say, get a good night's sleep, you'll feel better in the morning. Because that's rapid eye movement. That's what EMDR also does. It helps you put away the big emotions from your day when you're sleeping. So it actually is your body's natural way to help you. But we, in our society, we're all sleeping 5 hours. We're all kind of getting up early, drinking caffeine to get through the day, drinking those energy drinks. Like, we don't actually give ourselves the time to rest. And so, yes, if we gave our body the time to rest, we probably would be able to heal through trauma, but we don't. So that's kind of what EMDR also helps with.
My
Right?
God, that's incredible. I
Yeah.
love it. But
Yeah.
um, so the EMDR exercise, it's similar or the same as when you're in deep sleep. Your eyes are. Could you just walk through with us how this exercise looks like? Because when you say eye movement, it sounds a little bit abstract. So how exactly does it work? Do you sit still in place and you?
Yeah, so kind of the different ways. And so this is kind of where online you could do it, or in person you could do it. But what you would do is like you'd have kind of like a light bar in front of you, and then what you could do is even like looking at my eyes right now as I move. So you keep your head straight, take a nice big breath in, long breath out, and then you just kind of